What's up, everyone? George Balekji here with Foxborough Rush. But hey, check out the latest episode of Boston Has Entered the Chat. Travis Thomas and myself go through what the rest of the season looks like for the Bruins with the latest news of Hampus Lindholm shut down for the season, and Charlie McAvoy's future is in question. We also take a look ahead to the rest of the NBA season. All-Star break is gone. Second half is beginning. What are the odds for the Celtics to win it all, and who poses the biggest threat for them? That is Boston Has Entered the Chat. Wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. You can also watch on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch as well for NESN. Now, let's get to Rush. What's up? What's happening?
Yeah.
Travis Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm George Balekji. T, how we doing today, my man?
Doing great, man. I drank a Red Bull. I'm fired up for Foxborough Rush.
Wait, you drank a Red Bull and a Monster?
Oh, yeah, it was a Monster.
Oh.
Same thing. Good thing they don't endorse
Hasn't kicked in yet. Obviously, your brain's still waking up.
Hey, good thing they don't endorse the show. They'd be real upset.
Hey, man. All right, let me pitch this out there.
All right.
Little energy drink sponsor.
Oh.
We get Red Bull. You know who Red Bull sponsors, right?
F1,
Max Verstappen.
right?
Bingo.
Yeah.
And we take the chat to the Austrian Grand Prix.
Oh.
Home race of Red Bull.
Yeah.
Thank you, and have a good night.
Bro, all those Grand Prix. Isn't there one in Monaco? There's like all great places, isn't it?
Monaco, Imola in Italy. There's Montreal, right up
see the
north.
vision, bro.
Little Austin Grand Prix, Miami Grand Prix, Barcelona Grand Prix.
Red Bull, hit us up, baby.
Australian Grand Prix, go down under.
We've got wings on Foxborough Rush. Don't they say that? Red Bull will give you wings.
Rush is big in Australia, too. We got a few listeners watching us out there.
That is right. The Aussies.
We'll save the F1 talk for Boston Has Entered the Chat. We got a packed show for you guys today. Sean McGuire of NESN.com joins the show, pointing out and laying down the foundation for what free agency looks like for the Patriots when it comes to guys that Mike Vrabel's connected to from his time in Tennessee. Then Travis and I give you our love list for the NFL Combine. Guys that we are in love with, and we want the Patriots to love too and keep an eye on, for better or for worse. If they find out they're a fugazi of a prospect, fine. We love them. We want Elliott Wolf to love them too and really assess them as a prospect. And then we get into a little more. Mike Vrabel, Elliott Wolf, Ryan Cowden. What does a power dynamic look like there? Let's bring him in. He's Sean McGuire of NESN.com. Joining Foxborough Rush. Sean, have you checked out Landman yet? Have you watched it with your boy Jerry Jones in the show?
I have not. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but what is it, Paramount? I think that might be the one account that I don't have.
Okay.
We have subscriptions for everything else and don't have Paramount, so trying to get a login from someone, but unfortunately I have not.
All right, I'll get you in a little illegal streaming site. That's how I watch my movies and my shows. Landman's fantastic, though. Yeah, this is how good Jerry was in that, Sean. He made me like him in that 5-minute scene. He made me like him as an actor.
Wow.
Hey,
I've watched that one scene probably 3 or 4 or 5 times just on Twitter. So it is that's acting right there.
And you're watching, you're like, why can't you be half of good as an owner as you are as an actor? Because you'd be the best owner in the league.
Facts.
Cowboys dig in, check the box, we're good. Cross off your bingo card. Sean, let's get into free agents that you identified. You gave us a list of 5. I'm going to throw in some your way as well from my perspective. But what does it start with? Because you were looking at guys that either during the Browns' tenure, 1-year season for Vrabel as a consultant, or his Tennessee Titans tenure, 6 years there, overlapped, guys he's coached that you could see fitting in with the Patriots. Who's number 1 on your list?
Yeah, I'm going to go number 1. I'm going to go Dylan Radins. And so offensive lineman, you'll kind of get that theme as we continue throughout this, but Titans' second-round pick in 2021 really just showed a lot of versatility on his rookie contract. He played every offensive line position besides center in 2023, played a decent amount of right tackle, 504 snaps. In 2024, he then played 903 snaps at right guard, allowed 5 sacks in 455 pass blocking snaps. Also, I mean, again, just finished his rookie contract. He's 27, 6'6", 300 pounds. And it's just one of those guys, like it just, so I feel like so much of free agency is like the sexy signing, right? You know, T. Higgins and, Ronnie Stanley and those guys. But the reality is like these guys, these Dylan Radins and players of that caliber really make up just as much of the signings, if not, more of the signings, really, that the Patriots will make this offseason. So I could see that kind of making sense, would provide a lot of versatility and, probably more so as a depth piece than as a surefire starter. And again, the names that I talked about in a few minutes kind of fit that same billing. But number one, I'm going to go Dylan Radins.
Well, listen, S-Mizzle, you know me well. I don't give a damn about talking about offensive linemen in terms of breaking down technique and things of this nature. But I tell you what, I just want to put this out there now as a precursor. There is not one player you can name that has a history with Mike Vrabel at the offensive line position that I will not want. Okay, so sign me up for this guy and whoever else you're bringing. George will break this stuff down with you all day. But I'm telling you right now, any offensive lineman you name with ties to Vrabel, please come on down. It's like the Price is Right, S-Mizzle. Come on down to the Patriots because we could use your services. Go ahead, George.
I mean, this is just a brilliant point out. And Sean, what I like with this for Dylan Radins, right?
Love that, George.
You go a guy that's coming off his rookie contract, that's young, that has a frame, that has a versatility. Okay, so I want you to picture the Patriots are in the 5th round of the draft. Like, actually, because that's when they would take a guard like this. Okay, I would rather them throw another dart at the board for a wide receiver, another dart at the board for maybe a running back, and if you sign a Dylan Radins and you sign 3 more this offseason, to your point, Sean, that's brilliant. It will be a bargain. He's not that good, but if you're a backup guard, you need that. Because let's face it, do you want the backup guard to be Dylan Radins or Sidy Sow who couldn't stay on the field? Whether it's his fault or not. And that gives you more time. It could be a cheap, short-term deal, and you go with him. Dylan, come in. You're going to get coached up by Doug Marrone and 2 assistants. You're going to play for me again. You'll be playing in front of Drake May, maybe, if you earn your spot. The versatility on the line, prove yourself. I think this is a great point out by you because I would rather this be addressed in free agency, and they still should draft 2 offensive linemen at some point in the draft. But those higher picks, I'd rather it be taken on an edge defender, a cornerback, a wide receiver, or a running back. The spots where they don't need to be the immediate address in the beginning, but they need to be addressed at some point. And Dylan Radins is a pro. He's not a prospect. He's a pro. It's something I always say. I think it's a great. I love this. I love this point out by you, honestly.
All right, we're 1 for 1. We'll keep it moving then. And George, I don't know if you've ever used brilliant to describe me before, so I gotta take that and run with it. I'm gonna go number 2. I'm gonna go Jedrick Wills. So offensive tackle, sticking on the offensive line.
Love it.
He played for the Browns. So Vrabel, the crossover is just in 2024. Certainly shorter than the Titans' tenure. But anyway, Wills, Browns 2020 first-round pick, certainly underwhelmed during his 5 seasons in Cleveland, but a lot of that was due to injuries, season-ending knee injury in 2023. So limited time. I mean, 58 games in those 5 seasons. He started 12 of 13 games the last 2 seasons. With that said, he's 25 years old. He, played at Alabama. He's a left tackle, right? I mean, and it's just one of those things. It's not, you're not signing him as like this surefire home run at left tackle for the next 6 to 7 years. I'm not saying that. With that said, his market value right now on SpotTrack is 1 year and $2 million. So why wouldn't you? You just talked about those sorts of dart throws, and I think those, these sorts of players make a lot of sense for that. So you throw a dart, you have him be your, maybe he turns into the swing tackle. Maybe you get a Ronnie Stanley. Throw big money at him, and who knows? Maybe you get someone to play right tackle as well. And then you got Jedrick Wills to, be your swing tackle and improve the depth chart overall.
Back-to-back brilliant. I should agree with that. That's a guy that, even if you look at his last full healthy season, because he's been injured twice, so that 1 year, again, this is going to be a lot of prove-it deals. It's in a way, this first year, it's as if like you're going with like, hey guys, these are tryouts. Like, you ready? This is going to be tryouts. Everyone prove yourself. You get in the building. We have all these cap space, so we're going to bring in all of you. And if you prove it, we'll sign these long-term deals. 26, a left tackle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's start there. And then if you go to 2022, his last healthy season, and I think he had around, I was looking up, 650 pass block snaps, only allowed 41 pressures and five sacks. So 6% of dropbacks for the Browns ended with a pressure, according to him, which is a great pass blocking rate. That's a lot better than what you would get right now from the tackle spots. So I'm all for it because, dude, Jedrick Wills is a backup left tackle. That's better than DeMontre Jacobs, Fedarian Lowe, whoever they want to continue to roll out there. That's an upgrade in a depth piece.
Depth.
And you got to build out a roster. You need 53 guys.
Yep.
And you need guys that don't get others, a.k.a. your franchise quarterback, killed.
Depth.
T, what are you thinking? A lot of O-line talk for you.
Well, just depth. You had me at depth. I mean, we saw last season with the mixing and matching like a chicken box with this damn offensive line that you have to have depth in this league, okay? If you're going to mix and match combinations, guys get hurt, they're in and out of the lineup, you have to have depth at the offensive line. So I think a lot of Patriots fans get caught up in the shiny objects. Ronnie Stanley, who we brought up in this segment, right, S. Mizzle? But and Lord knows I want him too, don't get me wrong, but you also need to build the depth behind some of these big ticket priced guys on your offensive line. So I mean, hey, you got two brilliants from George here, S. Mizzle, so no pressure, keep it going.
Should I pull the plug in?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like end on the high note, quit while you're ahead.
All right, number 3, I'm going to keep it on the offensive line. I'm going to go Daniel Brunskill. So I actually had to look up to see how he announced his last name. It's announced exactly like it's spelled, so Brunskill. The Vrabel and the Titans signed him before 2023. Obviously, that was Vrabel's last season in Tennessee, but Brunskill was in Tennessee last year too. During that 2023 season, again, just the Vrabel tie, I'll keep it to that. He played 768 snaps at right guard, has experience at every offensive line position, minimal experience, I would say, at left tackle. He played 1 snap there last year, and that was his first time since 2019. So, not the left tackle of the future either. He's the oldest one on this list. He's 31 years old. But last year, 8 starts at center, 2 starts at right guard. It's another one of those depth, experience, those sorts of things. And I just think, he's another one. He's not going to come at a huge cost to the Patriots. It's just you sign him, you add the depth chart, and you got a versatile guy that can play pretty much anywhere. And I will also note, I think 2 of the 3 that I mentioned were primarily right guards. And if you're going to look across the Patriots offensive line, probably the only surefire spot they have locked up is right guard, right? But these guys come in, they're versatile enough that you can keep Mike Onwenu at right guard, they can play elsewhere, or maybe the best 5 is with Mike Onwenu somewhere else. Maybe it is with him at right tackle instead. I don't think I'd recommend that. I think at this point, keep him as right guard and let him just, finally gain some, familiarity, I guess. Let him play there, let him ride there. But yeah, Daniel Brunskill, another one, a veteran, not going to be a super costly vet to sign, and he improves the depth chart.
And that's a guy that, if you think about it, Vrabel's last season as head coach for the Titans, that's something where he has to recognize his seat is heating up at that point, right?
Yes.
He jokes about, I was fired because I wasn't winning games. Let's keep it at that. It wasn't the GM. It wasn't the owner. I wasn't winning. But just the fact that it's not even if the seat's heating up. Just, hey, I'm a head coach here. I have a big same personnel. Get me this vet in the door. There's something he sees in Brunskill. I think the versatility is big. That's a guy that's played in the NFL everywhere but left tackle. And when you have question marks all over the offensive line, and he had, as you pointed out, you said it was 8 starts at center, that we don't know what's happening with David Andrews. We don't know what's happening with Cole Strange. I assume David Andrews is coming back. I liked what I saw from Cole Strange at center, but he's never been healthy, and that was just a few smart starts, very small sample size. You need depth at center because also Jake Andrews, a guy that was drafted as a center by Bill Belichick, has not been healthy since he's been in the league. So, Sean, 3 for 3. What do you got for 4, baby? Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
All right, well, we're going to transition off the offensive line, so hopefully a little position change doesn't screw any of this up for me.
Trav's excited.
I'm excited.
So I'm going to go with a corner, Christian Fulton. So 26 years old, drafted by the Titans in the second round of 2020. He played last year with the Chargers, started 14 games for the Chargers there. And the reality is, the Patriots need quarterback depth, right? We've talked about this, and he's not the same. He's not the DJ Reed. He's not the Javarius Ward that, these high-profile cornerback signings, free agents, that sort of thing. Fulton isn't that, but he's also not going to cost that. So the spot track projection was 2 years for $7 million. I mean, that's pretty cheap when you're talking about, a depth corner. And I think it kind of comes down to, at least for me, right? Like, I've talked a lot about, they have Christian Gonzalez, so I wouldn't spend a first-round pick on a cornerback, even if that's, well, I guess if that's Travis Hunter, then that's a different argument. But I wouldn't invest like a ton of real assets into the cornerback room because you have Christian Gonzalez. Well, you get a 2-year deal. You get, call it $8 million, $10 million. You have someone who kind of play opposite Christian Gonzalez, and he's not that big money signing. So we'll keep it there. Christian Fulton is number 4.
I love that. I love that. I love it. George, one thing too that Esmizel said that I want to jump in on. This kid's 26, but he is experienced.
Yeah, 5 years in the league.
Right. And the other thing too, George, is, Gonzo's so good that I feel like some of these guys that we don't expect to maybe glow up and become some stud can, because of how good and prolific Christian Gonzalez is. So this is another guy who comes in and you're thinking, okay, this is good depth. He's young, but he's experienced. Let's bring him in. And all of a sudden, maybe Fulton has this big year that we didn't see coming, and it's because of how great, not good, great Christian Gonzalez is. So this is the kind of guy you need on your roster, George, no doubt about it.
I mean, think about it. For the guys they have under contract, it's Christian Gonzalez, Marcus Jones, Marcellus Dial.
Yeah.
I think Alex Austin's still under contract. He might be pending. I could be off on there. I think he might be a free agent, which I like. Yes, he is, because I remember talking about that's a guy they should bring back. But Christian Fulton's 5'11", 6 foot. I want them to bring back Jonathan Jones. I want them to bring back Alex Austin. I want them to still go sign a Charvarius Ward.
Yes.
I still want, or a DJ Reed.
Yes.
I still want them to get that big cornerback too. But they just need to get bigger in the secondary. Bring back a Jonathan Jones, because that is an establishment piece for this culture. He talks about culture, he being Mike Vrabel. You bring back a Jonathan Jones because of that. He could still play. He could still lead. He's big on accountability. When they were terrible last year, he was the guy calling meetings in the locker room after losses, saying, wake the F up. Okay, you want that. Does he get some of his production and some of his snaps taken away by maybe a Marcus Jones, similar build, faster, younger? Fine. But you need a Jonathan Jones. Those are the foundational pieces. That raises the floor. But you get a Christian Fulton because you need that true cornerback 2 and 3. I don't know if Alex Austin's that. I don't know if Marcellus Dial is that. I know Charvarius Ward is that. Give 2 to 3 years to Ward. Give 2 years to a Christian Fulton. A guy that's bigger. And if you surround him around talent, he doesn't need to play a lot of snaps. If he can do his job, lack of a better term, then he'll pay dividends for you. I think they need to invest heavily. I go back to the Rams game. Yes, no adjustments were made. But by Sean McVay doing the simple thing of moving his guys around inside and out, there was no answer on the back end of that defense. You need big bodies to match up with receivers, especially in the AFC.
Facts.
If you're enjoying the show, you can catch new episodes of Foxborough Rush every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Hear from NFL draft experts, former players, coaches, everyone around the game of football. That's Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, we're going to round it out. So I'm going to admit this might be a little bit of a cheat code, a little bit of a cheat answer, but the reality is I think the Patriots should sign this free agent, and he's worked with Vrabel in the past. So I think that fits the bill. I'm going to go Austin Hooper. So Hooper, obviously, not obviously, but Hooper played the 2024 season in New England. Before that, he played 2022 in Tennessee with Vrabel. In 2024, more than half of his catches went for first downs. The number of receptions was his most since 2020. His receiving yards was most since 2019. All of that production was pretty similar under Vrabel in that 2022 season. So I just think, and there's some ties, there's some Browns ties with, when it comes to like the offense and the similarities and all that sort of stuff. Drake May was just on a podcast the other day talking about how Austin Hooper pretty much helped him finish play calls, when something like that was in the huddle. So I just think it kind of confirms, like, Austin Hooper fits this sort of offense. And I think the Patriots should strongly consider re-signing him. And I think the fact that he has played a successful season under Vrabel, I think it makes all the more sense.
And he didn't have the best season in Vegas, but he played for Josh McDaniels in 2023.
That's right.
Before McDaniels was fired. Say again, Josh McDaniels has a heavy-handed personnel decisions, and when you sign an Austin Hooper in free agency, that's McDaniels saying, go get me this tight end. He has a connection to Vrabel. He knows the McDaniels system. The reason he was brought in last year, like a Jacoby Brissett, was to be a coach. I love Austin Hooper on this one.
I do too.
I'm going to sneeze.
Do it. Bless you. Woo, it got to you before it.
Thank you.
I actually like both tight ends, guys. I like Henry. I like Hooper. Yeah. And think about this, too. This is a deep tight end draft. Like, we've talked about some of these positions in this draft isn't deep, particularly quarterback, obviously, and not New England's problem, but other teams' problem. But if you look at tight ends, I mean, there's really at the top, of course, with Warren, but there's 3 or 4 guys who are playmakers in this draft. I wouldn't have a problem with Hooper, Henry, and adding one, obviously later in the draft, but adding another guy and just going really deep with tight end, especially, guys, because there are no true number one lockdown for sure wide receivers in this draft or free agency. So if you're telling me we're going, pass catchers at tight end and we need to be deep in that position for the Patriots, for the offense to work, I'm all for it, guys. I am.
Mm-hmm. If they don't bring back an Austin Hooper, that's a failure in my opinion.
I agree.
I think it makes complete sense, especially a guy that means that much to your franchise quarterback that was helping him out that much.
Yep.
It is maybe it's a Harold Fannin in round 3 or 4 who profiles more like a David Njoku. Maybe it's a Gunnar Helm who profiles like an Austin Hooper. Now that's a Gunnar Helm you could get in the 7th round. And maybe they walk away from this draft with 2 tight ends.
Right.
And people are going to go, why are you doing that? It's 2 pass catchers. And if that is a Fan in round 4, Helm in round 7, a lot can happen.
Could be.
And then you have your version of a David Njoku, and you have your next Austin Hooper. Those 2 guys for the next 4 years minimum while they're under the rookie deals.
Yep.
While your quarterback is under a cost control contract, it makes sense. But again, it's like, why you bring an Austin Hooper back for a year or 2? Raises the floor, teaches these guys the system. Yep. It's acclimation. It's getting comfortable with new surroundings, which is a new playbook and a new OC. So I like it. Sean, you just went 5 for 5, my friend.
Oh.
He's heating up. He's heating up.
He's heating up.
We thought Jerry Jones was having a big week on the pod. No, my boy Sean T is. Hey, one I want to. I have 2 I'd throw your way, and this is more of a. I am interested for you two. Amari Cooper spent half a season around Mike Vrabel just now. He's a free agent. He'll be 31-32. Not entirely sure on what Spotrac projects him for a deal. Look, I don't know. I don't want more than $10 million a year going to this guy.
Nah.
I don't know if he's the best in the locker room, but what do you think? He did spend half a season around Mike Vrabel, but a guy that kind of quit on the team was traded halfway through. I say no. I just wanted to throw that out there. What do you guys think on an Amari Cooper?
Go ahead, Mizzle.
I was going to say, you go ahead, Trav.
Well,
I'm looking up the hot draft.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought it was going to work out better than it did in Buffalo for him because I thought Buffalo was a place that made a lot of sense. They needed a threat on the outside with losing Stephon Diggs, obviously. They had gone to more of a conventional run game. And I just thought Amari Cooper at this stage of his career was a perfect fit for the Bills to go there and just kind of be a big play kind of guy and just be a reliable kind of steady-handed source for them. And it didn't really work out there. And then as George said, with Cleveland, it felt like he kind of quit and pouted his way out of town. I'm just very cautious, Esmeezy, as I turn this over to you. I'm very cautious for any type of diva behavior from my wide receiver. Now, Amari Cooper really hasn't given you that in his whole career, but here lately as he's gotten older, I'm seeing bits and pieces of it. I'm seeing it from Debo, which is why I'm not interested in him either. I just don't want any sort of diva-like behavior around my young stud quarterback. For that, I'm out on Cooper, although the Vrabel tie, if those two are tight, maybe Vrabel's the answer, to kind of break through that. But from what I've seen lately, Esmeezy, I'm nervous with Cooper's temperament is maybe the word I'm looking for. Yeah,
George, just 2 years, 28.5 essentially is what Spot Track. So what's that, 4.25? 4.2 is their the AAV that's projected.
2 years, $8 million total.
That's not bad.
No, 2 years, 28.
So you're giving him $14 million a year on the books.
Yeah.
No, Darius Slayton. Give me Darius Slayton for $4 million more a year.
I'd rather go a different direction with that exact
I'm happy
money.
you looked up that value.
Yep.
And there could be a difference. I'm more of guaranteed but you look at the cap hits.
Yep.
And again, so that's money. If you're giving him $14 million a year, I'd rather that goes to a Charvarius Ward.
Right.
I'd rather that goes to another pass rusher you can sign, like a deep down the line, like the defensive tackle Keegan said. Levi, I'm not going to say his last name because I'll butcher it. Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of like Shark Tank. All of us are out on Amari Cooper.
I am.
New person walks in.
I would also say, I mean, the Chris Godwin aspect of all things.
No.
Like, if I was to sign a free agent receiver, I think I would sign Chris Godwin over Amari Cooper.
Me too.
A free agent receiver with question marks. You have like that dislocated ankle is a bad injury. And I've said it, and this is kind of
bad.
The class is bad, but like a dislocated ankle he suffered midway through the season. Let's say he's not back till week 8. He won't be Chris Godwin until the following season, though.
Yeah.
Those type of injuries. That's where I get it. It's a bad class. I would rather pay for Darius Slayton, who's younger, productive. Yeah, not as high of a ceiling, but a good floor. Not as sexy, I know. I'm not going to burn the money on a Chris Godwin.
Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Esmizzle, but I feel like we're probably lockstep with this. I think you're speaking to bringing in a Godwin, even a Cooper Kupp, who I know you'd have to trade for, and that's a different topic.
Yep.
But bringing in a veteran wide receiver who's a grown-up in the room who can sort of help develop these young receivers, teach them how to be pros. I think that's where you were going with Godwin, because I'm in the same mentality. Whereas a Cooper, again, just using past few examples here, I'm not sure he's going to bring you that to your receiving room, and I can't take that chance.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of thinking out loud, I would trade for Cooper Kupp. I would sign Darius Slayton, and then I would draft someone else.
Yep.
I don't like Amari Cooper. To me, is just a no. I would rather Cooper Kupp over Chris Godwin if that was, would, one-on-one, I would rather that. But I think I'm just trying to say, like, if you have to sign a free agent receiver, Amari Cooper is definitely not my first pick.
I'm with you.
Yeah, same. We're all passing on him. Here's a guy I won't pass on: Nick Westbrook-Akine. 6'2", 210, 15 yards per catch, and he's good in tight windows, big body receiver. Now, here's the red flag. His last 2 seasons, his stat lines: 28 catches, 370 yards, 3 touchdowns, 32 catches, 500 yards, 9 touchdowns. But those 2 years are with a washed Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis as a rookie, then Will Levis, who's in love with pick sixes and dumb plays, and then Mason Rudolph. Like, if you name me 3 worst quarterbacks over a 2-year run outside of the Giants and the Titans, I'll be impressed. That's what this guy was playing with. He's coming off a 1-year deal, $2 million. He was there with Vrabel as an undrafted free agent, made the team, was productive. And as a big body downfield receiver, the one that jumps out to me is the 9 touchdowns this past season. When you get in the red zone, when you need to throw it deep, he gets in the end zone for you. I think this is a guy they go and get. And this is a guy in a way of, I'd butter him up a little bit. Here's 2 years. We're going to give you $6 million total. You got less than $1 million guaranteed your last contract. 2 years, $6 million. Here's $2 million guaranteed. Let's get to work right now. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I like that. I just, because I'm such a Spot Track fan today, I just looked that up too. 2 years, $8 million is what the market value for him is. And I think that, I think he fits like kind of the list that I was just trying to make, right? Like it's a lot of the depth guys that are probably going to come, without the fanfare, certainly at a lesser cost. Yeah. I could certainly see that being, again, just an improvement on the depth, an improvement on the depth chart.
Yeah.
I'm out on him, guys. I feel like we have a room full of him growing on trees right now.
Hold-
But since both of you are with him, I've been voted off the island, so go get him.
That's a guy also playing off of a DeAndre Hopkins, a Calvin Ridley. Let me remind you how awful that quarterback play is, Trav, where his latest line, his latest season, that was a line of 32,509. Okay, that's more receiving yards than every receiver you have outside of Kayshon Boutte and Demario Douglas, and that's more receiving touchdowns than literally everyone on your roster. That's and this is a guy that can produce big body. You need to get deep. Now, maybe to the point where I'm building this out, I'm going to have too many receivers between the draft and free agency. I want Slayton and Westbrook Akine. And so, maybe with that money, maybe I sleep on a Darius Slayton. Maybe you go and get the vet like you guys are looking at.
Yeah.
This is a bad free agency class.
It's terrible.
To the point, too, I'm passing on Amari Cooper. I'm passing on to Chris Godwin.
Yep.
I would, if I'm going to trade and sign, or if someone gets cut and I sign him, I'd rather give a prove a deal to a Devontae Adams. But then you're dealing with a diva.
Yeah.
The thing with Westbrook Akine to keep the eye on is that Vrabel knows who he is, knows what he is to a culture, kept him on the team after being an undrafted free agent. What does he owe him? Nothing.
Right.
And the guy's on prove a deal, prove a deal, prove a deal. Like Kayshon Boutte is not, that's a wide receiver 5 at best, guys. Yeah. I wouldn't bring him back. Yeah. He was the best player on. He was Cam Johnson on the Brooklyn Nets. He's the best player on a bad basketball team. Eventually, someone's gonna have to get the catches. Eventually, someone's gonna have to get the buckets. That's all he was. He was slow, not good with his route running, and was literally speaking to the media of I had to demand for the ball. Yeah, I say run the offense through me. You had to ask for this. He's not that. He doesn't do anything great. Westbrook Akine does some things well. Darius Slayton does some things well. That's what I want as you're building a culture and you got to lift up the floor of your This wide receiving room stunk, guys. Outside of Pop, it was really bad. Tight end room was good. Cornerback room, they have some pieces. Safety room, they have pieces. This is a bad roster. I want high floor guys. Get rid of Boutte. I don't care. Bring in Westbrook Akine. Bring in a guy that you can have like a Darius Slayton too.
I will say one maybe big takeaway from just the names that we're dropping. I mean, the fact is the Titans roster is not good. The drafting there has not been good. Kind of similar to what we have here with the Patriots.
Yeah. Yep.
And Ryan Cowden's running the show, kind of. Mike Vrabel, too. Could have had Mike Borgonzi. Okay. He's Sean McGuire. Sean, appreciate you taking the time, my man. Check out his full coverage on NESN.com. Again, this is Sean McGuire outlining free agents with Mike Vrabel ties who the Patriots could target. S-Mac, appreciate you joining the show. Get started on Landmine, bro, and then we'll start doing recap episodes every week. Landman.
I appreciate it, George. I would say that was a brilliant segment right there. So I appreciate it.
I see what he did.
Word of the day. Brilliant. Appreciate you, Sean. Have a good one, bro.
All right,
you want more words of the day? Check out Boston is Enter the Chat. Wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. That's our daily show here on NESN. Sports, culture, music, movies, Monster Energy drinks, or Red Bull. We talk it all there on Boston is Enter the Chat. Also, make sure to email thechat@nesn.com. You can join the conversation on Boston is Enter the Chat, or you can give us questions we can answer on Foxborough Rush as well. That's wherever you get your podcast. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. T, let's get into it. Also, when I told him get on Landmine, you ever play that drinking game, Landmines?
No.
You take a quarter, you spin it.
Okay.
And then you have your beer in a cup. You have to finish the beer before the quarter stops spinning.
Oh, I'd be good at that game.
If the quarter stops spinning first, got to redo. And but you do it in the beginning. It's simple, like little by little.
Right.
But then when you have the empty beer cans, you don't tell anyone. When someone's going, boom, you landmine them, they have to go again.
Oh.
And then by the end of the game, there's nowhere to spin the quarter.
Man, and all the drinking games that I played, I never played that one. But I would have been good at that one, just like I was all of them.
Hey,
that was listen, I've had a Hall of Fame drinking game career, my friend. Okay? Rafters in the jerseys in the rafters style. I'm just telling you.
My jersey's retired in the rafters at JMU. Go ask people about Frog Week.
Ooh.
Talking about guys that can put them down.
Woo.
I think defensive tackles would be all-time like beer drinkers.
Yeah, I got a couple buddies that played that position, and they are.
So with the Combine under a week away, we're going to point out some guys we love, who we want the Patriots to target.
Okay.
Trav, for you, who is your guy?
I love these segments with us because I'm going blue chip, and then you'll give me some dude I never heard of. But I'm going Mason Graham for obvious reasons. I mean, listen, like the closer we get to the draft, This is the name that you keep hearing over and over. And I know we do mock drafts here at NESN, and I've seen it with our NESN mock drafts, and I've seen them elsewhere on mock drafts, where all of a sudden this guy is slotted to the Patriots. Originally, I thought 4 may be too high for him. But as we continue, I'm going back to the mock drafts, we continue to see these mock drafts coming out. I'm seeing both Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter being off the board by the time the Patriots pick at 4. That was not the case originally. When once college football season was over and we really started breaking this stuff down, originally we thought, okay, the Pats will take whoever's there, whether it's Hunter or Abdul Carter. Now, the closer we get to this thing, you're seeing both of those guys being off the board. So if that's the case, this dude makes the most sense for the Patriots at 4. Or maybe they move back a couple slots. We'll see, and you could still get him. So I will have my eye on him. Every move he makes at the Combine, I want to see what Mason Graham looks like. And by the way, we don't know what we're getting with Barmore in terms of health, George.
Yeah.
How about this guy for the ultimate insurance policy in case something goes wrong there?
Yeah.
You know, obviously the landing's a little softer having Mason Graham in-house. But if Barmore goes away, we think, and he'll be fine, well, now you pair those two together. I mean, along with some of these other defensive linemen on this roster, my goodness, you are cooking with gas. So I'm looking at Mason Graham all week long.
And this is the last year of Christian Barmore's extension before the Patriots have an out next season.
Okay.
Where if they exercise the out in 2026, that offseason, they save $5 million against the cap. So there are a lot of the extensions were dulled out by Ellie Wolf this past season.
Yep.
A lot of that will happen. I see the Mason Graham vision. Mm-hmm. I'm staying defensive line.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I've mentioned Shamar Stewart to you.
Oh, you have. Yeah. You have.
6'5", 280.
Yep.
With 34-inch and a quarter-inch arms.
Yep.
Crazy long. Like, that's longer than a lot of the offensive tackles in this draft.
Yes.
And those are his measurables from the Senior Bowl. We'll see the NFL draft measurables. But he's big. He's strong. He's fast. And he was built in a lab for edge rushers. The one thing, 3 years at Texas A&M, 4.5 sacks. Mm-hmm. That's where I get lost a little bit. And this is a guy where I'm watching. Not that I love, I'm watching. And I want to see what comes out from the Combine. What's that drop-off with the production that he's had as a pass rusher? His bull rush is devastating. His arm length helps him win on hoops, which is, you see the drill of defensive linemen where they start and they run literally a hula hoop. That's because what you want to do around the offensive tackle, and that's how you ruin the pocket. That creates pressures. A pressure is any time a quarterback moves off their spot, has to relocate, pump fake, whatever. It ruins the timing. That's a pressure. Pressures are more valuable than sacks.
Yes.
So, as I say, it doesn't produce in sacks, but the production overall isn't there. And when you get with a guy that's 6'8", 280, built in a lab, strong, fast, long, you overly rely on your athleticism, though.
Yeah.
You need to be fundamental. You need to be technical in the NFL to be a long-term guy. Mason Graham for you, that's a top 5 pick. I think he's top 6 at worst.
I think so, too.
Shamar Stewart could go anywhere from top 5 to top 15, depending on what happens in the Combine.
Who's a comp? Is it like a Calais Campbell who's got that same kind of build?
Ooh.
Who's a comp for this kid?
I mean, Campbell's 6'9". Yeah, I see it.
I mean, physically.
Shamar Stewart, 6'5", 280. The comp, and this is where the comp that I was able to find, John Franklin Myers.
Okay. All right.
But you don't want a John Franklin Myers top 15.
Right.
John Franklin Myers is a guy you take 5th, 6th, 7th round.
That's a good point.
You don't want a role player. You're taking top 15.
Yeah.
He needs to be a devastator.
Yeah.
To opposing offenses.
Which is why the Combine's so big. Listen, our producer, Ethan, has convinced me because I'm all about Ashton Genty. However, our producer, Ethan, who is a UNC fan, has been telling me all about this kid, Amarian Hampton from UNC, who obviously I've seen play, but he's like, Trav, if you don't get Genty, this kid makes a lot of sense for the Patriots. If you can maybe, pick someone at 4, or trade back into the back end of the first round, or maybe early second round and get this kid.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the balance this kid runs with. He runs with power and speed. He is a home run hitter. I've called him, and I mean this affectionately, a poor man's Ashton Genty, but I don't mean that disrespectfully, because this kid could mess around and be just as good of a pro as Genty. We'll see. But I think this is someone you have to look at. Again, power, speed, can catch. He has hands, home run hitting ability. I will keep my eye, because of our esteemed producer, Ethan, I will keep my eye on this kid at the combine as well. Someone that could be in play for the Patriots to revamp that run game, but doesn't cost quite as much as an Ashton Genty in terms of draft capital.
A second rounder is a lot for a roster that is this bad, though. And Omarion Hampton to a Cowboys type scenario where an offensive line is built, Lions. And Omarion Hampton can very well be the guy that replaces a David Montgomery. To an Eagles scenario, a spellback to a Saquon Barkley. To teams that can afford to spend the high of draft capital on him. I like him as a prospect. Good contact balance. Good pass catcher, soft hands out of the backfield. He could do gap or zone run schemes. Good at getting skinny and finding the hole. All of this, I mean, trust me, and he's also 6 foot 220. He falls forward when he runs. He gets downhill and he gets moving. Those are the type of guys that Mike Vrabel loves. If they take, I'll tell you this, if the Patriots end up with Omarion Hampton, you know what that tells me? They had a fantastic free agency run.
Great.
They had a fantastic lead up to the draft.
Awesome.
Where they're trading for an elite receiver. They're signing the offensive tackles they need to.
Yeah.
And they can afford to use a second round pick on Omarion Hampton when they need depth in an offensive and defensive line. And there are a lot of talented guys with higher ceilings as a pro at edge or D-line. But I like the Omarion Hampton push right there. If you're enjoying the show, you can catch new episodes of Foxborough Rush every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Hear from NFL draft experts, former players, coaches, everyone around the game of football. That's Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcasts. So we both gave a guy we're going to be watching. Who are some guys that you love? You mentioned Omarion Hampton. What about the guys you love?
I'll give you three.
Let's go one for one here a little bit.
I'll give you three who I love, and I'll just go in order of who I love the most. It's Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
You know it. I know it. Patriots fans know it. I mean, this guy, I've seen a ton now. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. It's almost now to the point where I am surprised when I look at a mock draft and he's not number one now. I mean, I've seen some where Travis Hunter goes one and Carter goes two. So at this point now, I don't think he'll be there for the Patriots at 4. If he is, I am doing backflips. So obviously, just like everyone else's eyes, my eyes will be on Abdul Carter for the combine as well, George.
Yeah, I mean, I love him too. How could you not?
How could you not?
That's a guy that, again, could be a devastator.
Yes.
And is more of a sure thing, plug and play, day one guy.
That's right.
Right now is looking like a third down pass rush.
Yep.
Needs to get bulkier, needs to get better with his run defense.
Yep.
But man, if you want to have a complex defense and you want to have that queen on the chessboard, off-ball linebacker or at the edge, it's a Micah Parsons. And I'm not saying I'm giving the pro comp.
Right.
But the usage where you could put him everywhere.
Yep.
My love, I'm going to start with like a late second, early third round pick right now, but Jaden Higgins, who I've told you about.
Oh, you've been on him.
6'3", 215.
Yeah.
A guy the Patriots can identify right away and snag. And this is who I would rather use because of his ceiling as a second or third round pick. He projects right now as a big slot, but athletic, really good route runner, good with contested catches, good over the middle, smart attacking a zone, good run blocker. And also watch the film of him from Iowa State. He didn't have the most accurate quarterback. There were balls that should have been interceptions that ended up as touchdowns because of Jaden Higgins and his arm and his hands. Now people go, but you're going to take a slot in the second round? Well, think of Josh McDaniels calling this offense, T.
Yeah.
And think about who a slot that he loved when he was with the Patriots and Raiders. Jacoby Myers. Mm-hmm. Big slot.
Who should
Jacoby's
still be
6 foot, 200.
Yep.
This guy's 3 inches taller, 15 pounds heavier, more athletic, good catch radius. And with all this, I say too, Jaden Higgins in the second or third round.
Yep.
He's Ted McMillan, who's in the first. Maybe his floor is a little lower. Maybe his ceiling's a little lower. But you're going to pay a first-round premium for a wide receiver. If Ted was in this draft, he'd be in the second round, maybe right before Jaden Higgins. Mm-hmm. Give me a Jaden Higgins. That's a guy that you get in the second or third, And that's a guy that if you address the wide receiver room, like how we laid it out, Westbrook Akine, Darius Slayton, he starts out as your 3. Maybe he's your number 1 slot. I think he's so good. And he's an immediate impact receiver. I think that works a lot. And this is a guy you get where give $50 million guaranteed to Trey Smith, $50 million guaranteed to a Ronnie Stanley. Go with an edge rusher, defensive lineman in the first round, second round or third. You can go with a Jaden Higgins right away.
All right, my next one, I'll save us some time because I don't break down these players. But Will Campbell is someone I'm going to be watching just to make sure everything is on schedule with him. Like, don't show up out of shape. Don't do anything that's going to drop your stock. If anything, because George breaks down these offensive linemen so much and he evaluates them so much, that makes me go cross-eyed because I get sick of hearing it about these guys. It's to the point now where if the Patriots take him at 4 overall on draft night, I'm going to feel a little bit bummed out because I know it's a reach, but at the same time, it's such a drastic bleeping need for this team. I would get it. So would you, even though we both feel like it could be a reach. It would make sense if the Pats go Will Campbell at 4. So really, me watching him at the Combine, George, is just don't mess this up. Because Will Campbell, you could go as high as 4 to the Patriots if you don't mess this up. So that's what I'm looking. Is the kid a professional? Is he going to show up in shape? Is he going to test well? That's what I want to see from Will Campbell.
He could play everywhere up front except for center, which the Patriots need.
Yep.
And he could be in a trade back and draft scenario.
Could be.
Top 8. And if you get your Trey Smith, you have both your guard spots figured out.
He could be at 4 too, George. He could.
Yeah. But
he could.
The roadmap I lay out, you get your Ronnie Stanley, you get your Trey Smith. Your whole left side is figured out.
Sure.
At center, it's David Andrews or Cole Strange, or a guy you could get later in the draft who I'm about to mention.
Sure.
Then at right guard, it's Mike Onwenu. It's not going to be Demontre Jacobs at right tackle. It's not going to be Caden Wallace. It's not going to be Vidarian Lowe. It would be Will Campbell. Yep. And then at worst, Will Campbell, he could be a good offensive tackle and a great guard.
Facts.
And if he's a 10-year starter up front, all-pro caliber guard, you don't love the price, but you have a big need. I love Will Campbell, too, in that scenario. Kyle Kennard, edge rusher.
Yeah.
3rd-round pick out of South Carolina, Bronco Nagurski winner, which goes to the best defensive lineman in the country. 6'5", 255, 33 and 3/8 inch long arms. That's long. Length is his strength. He's good with his punching time, getting hands off of him from opposing offensive linemen. 4-year starter in college. That's a lot of experience.
Sure.
Explosive, first step and through the hoop, and disrupts pockets. And is ideal with his frame, 6'5", 255. He could be more of a 2-point stance and hand in the dirt.
Right.
He's not an over-the-tackle guy. He's outside of the offensive tackle type of guy.
Right.
Terrell Williams loves those guys. Pro comp for you is Zadarius Smith.
Okay.
Who Mike Vrabel coached in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And then the Lions traded for.
That's right.
And Terrell Williams, as a defensive line coach, now the DC of the Patriots, used him as a guy to help out with Aiden Hutchinson going down.
Yeah.
And you get that in the 3rd round.
Wow.
Mason Graham in the 1st.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, that's the other B-gap defensive lineman. He's going to go 4 down. Keon White can still be outside.
Right.
And then this guy, Kyle Kennard, in the 3rd or 4th.
I see the vision.
Yep.
I see the vision.
Who's your last?
Last one, I am hammering this. Ashton Genty.
Yeah, I knew it.
Listen, I'm going to tell you how bad I'm hammering this. And you know because you tuned in. Thank you. Over the weekend on WEEI, I'm doing my radio show, and I'm trying to rally people for Ashton Genty, and no one was having it. No one was having my Ashton Genty talk, but I will not stop. I am relentless, and the great Matt Miller agrees with me, and that's all I need. Ashton Genty is someone that could come in here tomorrow and change the run game. You can't get a number 1 wide receiver this offseason. You know why? There's none available. Okay, you want to give up the farm to maybe go get DK Metcalf? Good luck with that. Just change direction. You're not going to get a number 1 wide receiver this offseason. Kick that can down the road. Get this Ashton Genty kid in here. fix your offensive line, and then watch how dynamic your offense becomes. And then later, you can worry about wide receiver. This is a guy I'm watching at the combine. This is a guy I'm trying to rally people around here to want. Ashton Jeanty should be a Patriot, George.
You're never going to stop. You're never going, and it's okay.
I need rehab for him.
He shouldn't be a Patriot because they don't have it up front for him.
That can be had, though. That can be had.
Now, again,
That can be had.
all this talk about Trey Smith. What stops the Bears from getting a Trey Smith?
Fair.
And so then you have Caleb Williams with Trey Smith.
Yep.
They need more of a tackle because they got to replace Braxton Jones. But you get me.
Yeah.
They signed a Trey Smith. What stops the Bears from taking Ashton Jeanty to put around a Caleb Williams, who has Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, tight ends, and Ben Johnson? San Fran, Dallas.
Yeah.
Those are the guys. My last one, I'm going Willie Lampkin.
Okay.
Sounds like I made up the name. 5'10", 270, small. 6th round pick out of UNC. He'd play center. 49 starts in college. Moves well laterally, which is more for a zone type run game.
Okay.
But great IQ, good eyes, identifies blitzes well and stunts, which this offensive line stunk with last year.
Yeah.
A guy I love because, again, that's a depth piece in the draft. He can play center and guard.
Sure.
270 small, but the clip I can't get out of my head is Deion Walker, who's 6'6", 350. Willie Lampkin stopped him in his tracks. But is that more on Deion Walker, who had a huge letdown this past season, or is this more on Lampkin? I don't know. 6th round pick. I'll love a guy in the 6th round that can be a project. So that's the way I look at it. He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. This was Foxborough Rush. Appreciate you guys making us part of your day. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Leave a comment on the YouTube channel, any video, and we'll bring it into the show. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you later.